welcome back to Two Homers and a Realist. This is the midweek pod before the South Carolina game. Guys, I don't know. I'm a little worried. I'm Steve.
Lucas.
Jay.
I think we may need a doctor, and the doctor to call would be Dr. Michael Kiehn. Dr. Kiehn, a board-certified surgeon specializing in orthopedic sports medicine for over 20 years. Dr. Kiehn has been serving the greater Oklahoma City metro area along with western Oklahoma. Not only does this include surgical skills in primarily the knees and shoulders, he is a constant figure on football sidelines throughout Oklahoma high schools and colleges. Dr. Kihn's deep commitment to sports and devotion to his patients proves that he is the man to see, even though he's an Oklahoma State fan. And I tell you what, it's not looking so bad to be an Oklahoma State fan because, guys, it's just not great.
Well, they haven't won a conference game. At least we won a conference game.
We got that going for us,
That's
which
about
is
it.
nice. Yeah. It's rough. It is rough. As you talk to anyone out there, I'd be surprised to find anyone who can be upbeat about the situation. It's just different levels of depression and worry. And to me, the vibe, since that's the word everybody likes to use now, is just so dour. It's like everything's lost and we're only 4-2, but it doesn't seem good. I'm not saying that that's not an accurate depiction, but man, is it just like the season sunk and this is over.
I think it's because not just what we've looked like, but what we still have left to play. I mean, if we
Right.
had West Virginia and Texas Tech and someone else,
Salvageable.
we've got like 4 top 25, top 15 matchups to go. It's just not looking pretty. There's just no other way around it.
Yeah, it's looking very, very bad. And what's as frustrating as it's ever been, you look back, you got to go to the late 90s when you felt like there's no hope. It's like week in and week out, you're not seeing any improvement. We're playing games at quarterback. We're going to talk about quarterback in a second. It's not like you're slowly progressing towards something. There's nothing there to really cling to.
If you want to like grab onto anything and have any positivity whatsoever,
No.
I agree. It doesn't feel that way. The two teams we've lost to, statistically speaking, have elite defense. We're
True.
still going to play good defenses, but we're talking about the number 1, maybe number 2, number 3 overall defenses in the country.
Okay.
So maybe there's a chance that against the 16th ranked defense in the country and the 20th ranked defense in the country, that'll be a little bit better.
I mean, the biggest alarm to me is for the last 7 or 8 years, this has been when Bedenbaugh has got his offensive line gelling. We've always complained game 1 through 4. It looks like he's just running a bunch of different guys out there to see which combination works best, but it's still working. And then by Texas, we start to run the ball well. We're good in pass protection. Everything's clicking.
Even last year.
Yeah, even last year when the O-line was just okay, at least we had a Walter Rouse. You know, we had a couple guys that were good enough to play in the NFL. This team has nobody good enough to play in the NFL. None of the combinations we've tried, even since we've been healthy the last 2 games, are working. And it's embarrassing when going into the final drive against Texas, you're under 200 yards. I don't care if they're the number 1 or number 4 defense in the country. That 200-yard mark it's ridiculous to not be over that by
it's
third quarter. I mean, 200 yards is nothing in college football.
Halftime.
The other thing that we look at, and we've talked about that's important, the talent level's there. The talent level to have some success is there. And they're not seeing any success. We're seeing open receivers not thrown to. We're seeing when they do make a hole for the running back's not getting there. It's just everything not working. And I get to a point now, and I think this has to be the logical conclusion. Correct me if I'm wrong or argue, but you got to a point where it has to be coaching. It can't be players. It can't be individuals who aren't doing their job. It's got to be more and more blamed on the coaching.
I don't know. It's so difficult, and I think everyone across the board is having this same kind of either internal discussion or discussion like we're having, whether it's local media or just super fans like us. You try and watch the game back again, and like you said, there are players open. So whose fault is it? Is it just the quarterback not seeing it? are the coaches just as frustrated that you didn't see this play or you didn't see this hole? Or is it, I mean, what is, no one can figure out what it is.
I would bet they are just as frustrated, but that's a sign of their own deficiencies. That they don't realize it's their fault that the guy's not throwing the ball when he should throw the ball. Some of that's
Is
being
it,
a true
though?
freshman. I think it has to be. The plain scared, not willing to take risk. It's been indicative throughout the entire Venables coaching regime, 3 years going on now, that they don't want to take risk on offense.
Because I was talking to a friend today, and I was like, put yourself in Seth Luttrell's shoes, right? Like you're in there talking with Venables, trying to save your job, right? Or it's the end of the season, he's thinking about moving on from you. You have so much to show him that you didn't have to work with, right?
Right.
So like if you're sitting there and you're like, dude, we had a beat up offensive line to start the season. Then the offensive line that we finally did put out there also wasn't any good. Redshirt freshman and a true freshman quarterback moving back and forth. Every top receiver I had was out. Like what am I supposed to do? So I can understand that. Like if I was fighting for my own job, Seth Luttrell has a bunch of excuses
Right.
to use, but at the same time, you feel like a good coordinator has to learn to work with what he's got or doesn't have.
I'll go back to what you said before on the last pod about how you're watching so many other teams, basically every other team, with lesser talent in most cases, they have some success doing something moving the football. They are able to have the yardage that we're not able to have, to threaten to get into the end zone. I mean, shutouts are extremely rare in football nowadays, and we basically were shut out the other day by Texas. We got down to deep into the red zone a couple of times. The first and the last drive were the most noticeable. Both times came away with nothing to show for it except a field goal in the very first instance. So to me, that's why as the season rolls on, I get less and less tolerant of what we're seeing in terms of coaching, because they should be able to work with this and figure something out. One of the things I think they're doing is they're being way, way, way too complicated. As I rewatch it, as I look at how many guys are pulling and moving, how many moving parts there are to this offense, I keep thinking he is overcomplicating this thing in a way that if it works, it's great, but everything perfectly has to work.
But would we say the same thing if we ran a vanilla offense? We'd be sitting here next week
But that's
saying we didn't try anything.
But that's a different
We
debate.
didn't pull our
Yeah,
guards.
sure.
We didn't do anything. It's easy to see what we're doing.
If we got beat 34-3 and we're not able to move the ball, but I'm telling you, I think they could move the ball if they would just dial it down and just do simplistic stuff and try. You possess the ball, which we're doing a decent job actually in the last game of possessing the ball. But to me, the mistakes you're seeing are the fact that you're trying to do so many complicated things and everything has to work. If they were really simple and they couldn't pull that off, that's a different argument. Now it still could be coaching, because you got to teach a guy how to throw a block. You got to teach a guy where to be in space. But short of that, that's about the only mistake you can make in a simplistic offense.
I wonder what happens when they watch the all 22 if Luttrell is pointing out, look, this route was open. Hawkins didn't see it. This running back didn't go through this hole. It was there. So on my end, I'm doing a decent job scheming, and none of it's coming to fruition because the execution is so bad. Now that's devil's advocate in favor of Seth Luttrell.
Obviously.
I don't think that's the case because I haven't seen the receivers get open. Even though we're down our top 5, every one of these other kids are still 4 stars. And so to me, that means the talent is there. They're just not executing. And scheming can get you so far, even done correctly, the execution has to be there to complement it.
I think what's baffling to me is you accidentally create plays sometimes, and we haven't even done that.
Right.
Like just on accident, made a read that we weren't supposed to make, and there was a guy open, and we threw it to him and hit it. Like, we can't even just get those.
Or a
which
safety
is
falls
shocking.
down.
Yeah.
And you got a guy
Yeah,
running free.
yeah, exactly. We just
Yeah.
we can't get anything to go our
No,
way.
it is to me like they're looking at the very methodically, like I have to execute this exactly as it's designed on chalk. And I need to do this, and it starts to fall apart, and there's no improvisation. There's, aside from running, just athleticism. There's no look at a guy who is coming open, it has a chance to be open, throw the ball to him. It's really strange. It is a strange offense
We
to
talked
watch.
about maybe do we want Hawkins with having no experience to go with the Jalen Hurts model of look at your one read, maybe your second, and then take off running. And it seems like he's way beyond that, where if the first one's not open the first half second of the play, he's scared of what's
Scrambling,
coming
moving,
in, and
yeah.
he's just taking off running. And he quickly realized that the Texas guys are just as fast as him with the angles and dragging him down from behind. You know, if he does step up in the pocket, somebody's getting around a tackle on the end and coming from behind him, stripping it. It just makes you don't know if it's his inexperience or, you know, in high school, he's faster than everybody. So he knows he can get away with anything. And he gets to this level and you can't outside of the big run against Auburn.
Which Texas adjusted for that perfectly.
Yeah, our biggest
with,
run was 13 yards.
I mean, they're running 2 to 4 spies at a time and daring him to try and pick them apart. And we've got these max protect schemes going on where you've only got 2 receivers as options. We weren't going to win that game.
Well, it's not max protect when none of your linebackers, none of your tight ends can block. So Jay talked about last week,
or lineman
putting in an extra lineman, just to, even if you know you just tells the defense, hey, we're gonna run, come stop us.
Right.
And they probably will, but
right.
At some point maybe you try that. And we're not in practices. I don't know if EPL is ready or not, but I mean, can he be worse than the guys we're trying out there now?
I guess
Yeah,
technically you can.
I mean, you can, but it gets you experience. I mean, I don't know. I've got a question to pose to you guys before I forget. A happy birthday to Mike. It's his big birthday
Yeah, happy
today.
birthday.
I hope he wishes for some Sooner magic because we're gonna need it. First question. What is the probability that Seth Luttrell specifically is the offensive coordinator come January 1st, 2025?
20%.
I'm torn on this. Man, unfortunately for him, I actually think he's didn't get a fair shake this year to a certain degree. There's just so much we're either not as good as we thought we were going to be, combined with injuries.
What are you, his agent now?
Yeah.
But even everybody can agree on that, and
I think you have
be a
to
scapegoat.
Yeah, I think you have to make a change just because.
Just to appease people.
You have to.
So what's your probability?
It's low. I'm gonna say 1%.
Wow. That's like there's no
So he's
chance.
all but fired.
I think
that's
I don't think you can put out historically these types of numbers, and to change some of these numbers, you'd have to
score 50 points a game.
Yeah, it would have to be so
games.
incredible. I mean, some of these numbers are so putrid. So Max Olson, who's a national writer for college football, we've generated 13 plays of 20 plus yards this season. That's 133rd in the FBS. Only 0-5, now 0-6 Kennesaw State, because they lost last night, has fewer. Miami and Ole Miss by themselves have each had 13 in a single game. Okay. And then we've gained 20 plus yards on 3.4% of our offensive plays. That currently ranks third worst among all Power 4 offenses, not this year, over the last decade.
wow.
Decade.
That's bad.
You almost can't fathom it. It's kind of like the stars and the moon.
Yeah.
Like you can't fathom how far away everything is.
Right.
That's how far away our offense is.
No, they're the Andromeda galaxy. They're the cluster X.
It's not even as close as the comet that's
Yeah,
been coming
yeah,
around.
right.
I mean, unless Jackson Arnold gets put in and we get Farouk back next week and Burks plays and the offense starts putting up 35 points a game and we win, 3 games the rest of the year that we shouldn't.
Right.
I just don't know how you can
So-
bring him back.
So I'll say I'm a lot higher than 1%. A little bit higher than you, Lucas. Part of that is I feel like there's this loyalty, there's this everyone keeps calling it nepotism. I would say that it's more like a 33%
I just
chance
think it's way above
with a
Brady.
lot of ability to go up or down. And I was going to ask, but it really is kind of trivial at this point. What about other people on the staff? But I think other people on the staff are just or worse. It's
Yeah,
going to be
Joe Jones
wholesale
gotta go.
changes, right?
His position is horrific,
Yeah,
and he's the co-offensive coordinator.
yeah.
So how
No
does
place to hide there.
Yeah, you can't keep going back. on
And you
that.
might need to free up money for whoever you want to bring in, and there's
And
a
a
lot of
position
money
coach.
between these two
Yeah,
guys.
And a position coach,
Right.
which is one of the worst positions on the entire football.
Yeah,
Right?
that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, to his point,
And
yeah.
and you need to bring somebody in that's a quarterback coach.
Quarterback coach. Yeah, exactly. So speaking of quarterback, who starts on Saturday?
I think Brent's already said it was Hawkins, didn't he?
He did say that. Each day that goes by, there's different rumblings and different sources from people that the reps, as of today, have even gotten down to 50-50. So it kind of went like a 60-40, which is already strange because if you have a true freshman only getting 60% of the snaps, he needs 99% of the snaps.
Right.
If that's who you're going to play for sure. So if Arnold was already getting 40, and then 2 days later, we're at more of a 50-50. I mean, if he looks better in tomorrow's practice, Thursday's practice, then maybe you've got to give it to Arnold.
I think it's going to be Arnold. I think that that is the natural progression to have Hawkins realize it's Arnold. It's almost politicking or politics there at play. You're trying to make it, you're massaging the situation. I think we've seen enough of both of them that I'm ready to take the chance myself with Arnold over Hawkins. I think both can be really good quarterbacks. I'm going to lay it out there as a
Oh,
prediction.
yeah, there's no giving up on
Both
Hawkins.
of them are going to have very good college careers, short of injury or something. But there's a lot of upside with Arnold and knowledge that you don't have with Hawkins that maybe they thought they needed to get. We talked about this a little bit earlier. I think you brought this up, Lucas, and it's a good point. If you don't get the Kip 6, if you don't get the run at the start of the game for the touchdown out of Hawkins, does Arnold come in at that point? Because otherwise, Hawkins wasn't showing you and giving you what you needed. Obviously, for a number of reasons, the replacement, the change had to happen at Tennessee. If nothing else, because of, again, marketing. You got a fan base that were going to rebel if you didn't make a change in the middle of that Tennessee game.
The lateral.
It was just
It was the
horrific.
lateral. I think it could have been a different interception or a different turnover of some kind, and Arnold still would have been in the Tennessee game. I truly
Right.
believe that.
I think you're right.
I think the lateral play that he ad-libbed on his own, that wasn't even an option on the play, the coaches just were like, we just can't do this. We just
Right.
cannot do this.
But I
to this
think
football team.
at this point now, and this is definitely Homer optimism, sitting on the bench for this time may have straightened his mind out a little bit.
A lot of good quarterbacks have had this happen to them.
I mean,
Absolutely.
Rattler got benched before halftime
Yep.
against Texas, came back in and won a game in quadruple overtime.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Caleb Williams, we were at this game, was horrendous at Baylor and got benched.
Yep.
Yep.
I mean,
Came back
Rattler
in
got benched
stronger.
in Texas the next year, and
Yep.
Caleb came in and won
Yep.
the game.
And he only and Rattler didn't get his job back only because Caleb magic really at that point. Kind of a combination Caleb Sooner magic for sure. I don't know. I'm a little optimistic that they could get functional with Arnold knowing what he's able to do, take the RPO out of the game.
Yeah, we have not seen Arnold with the RPOs taken out, right? If that was his undoing,
If that's
right?
his Achilles heel.
Yes, if that was his decision making, inability, that taken away, maybe it looks significantly better.
Mm-hmm. Just a
But-
willingness to throw the ball in the right spot.
And, I'll play the Arnold defender here for a second.
Well, why would you not have figured that out in a bye week? Why was it all Hawkins, no choice but to start Hawkins?
My
in
guess would
Texas
be because
with 12 days. of
like
practice?
you said about a true freshman, you're thinking we've got to give this guy as many reps as possible. He's got to be ready for Texas.
But it wasn't many reps possible if it's 60-40 Hawkins.
I don't know if
in
it was
practice.
60.
Well, I don't know if it
40
was
then.
for the bye week.
Yeah.
I don't know about the bye week.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I'm thinking they think we're putting all our eggs in this one basket for this thing. And now it's like, well, that didn't happen. So let's completely think of something new.
Yeah, so to defend Arnold a little bit, the offensive line to start the season was worse than it is now, even though it's horrible now. It was worse than it is now.
Yeah.
And the young receivers that he was throwing to were even more green.
We're younger.
Into it now. So he really, I mean, hindsight's everything. It was stacked against him. We didn't know it at the time. We just assumed everything should look better than this.
Right.
But looking back at it, I guess you could argue though that Hawkins has played much better teams.
You could say that for sure. But with more experienced players around him and doing better, especially, I mean, every position, offensive line in particular.
And I don't say that to think that, we've seen better balls thrown, more consistent balls from Arnold. And he stands in the pocket. I mean, one of the best throws this year, we haven't had many, but one of the best ones, I don't remember if it was our center or our guard, just got absolutely smoked at the snap.
Right.
And he had a guy right in his face.
Knowing he's gonna get
He
hit.
hung in there, threw it
As he's falling
milliseconds before he got
backwards.
hit.
Yeah.
And threw an absolute dime to Farouk. So we haven't seen Hawkins do that at all.
No.
He threw a great
No, he'll
pass.
escape. He'll just
to
try
Great
Hester.
pass to Hester.
One great pass. And that's he's slung some in there. He's zipped some balls in
Yeah.
to some nice throws.
Like Bauer Sharp on a 10-yard.
Well, I was looking for the zip, and when he didn't do it in Texas, that's where I got really concerned, especially looking at it afterwards in replays. See the guys open and think, well, that's your throw, man. That's what you can do. We've seen you do it, and you're not releasing the ball. So it may benefit him to take some time on the bench.
I feel like it's an easy sell to Hawkins and his family.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming in. We needed you. You did really good. We can show you on film you're not ready,
Right.
right? It's just you don't have the pieces.
And you're not
around
going to
you.
get better by being in
Yes,
that.
This isn't. I don't know if you want to sell that, but
Well,
you can show them you're not ready, right?
You can say this is a better path for you to get to where you can be
But
versus keeping you thrown into this.
because he also came in.
situation.
He came in knowing he wasn't going to be the guy.
Right.
He knew he was going to sit
Right.
probably 2 years.
Yeah.
So there's the fact that he even got this game experience. You just have to be happy with that.
Yeah.
Learn from it, grow from it, and he'll be even more ready than he was gonna be.
And your options are
I
still
think that's
available.
what you sell to him.
Your options are completely still available to him. You say, look, if you think you're developing to it, and maybe you do, to an incredible degree throughout the rest of this season and into the spring, and it's a battle between you and Arnold going into 2025, and he wins the job, then you still have your options in front of you in terms of where you want to go and where you want to be. You can
See,
stick
I don't-
around here, or you can do something else, and that can happen in the spring.
Maybe
as
I'm
well.
still old school, but yeah, we've got to get these kids to stop thinking if you just don't win the job, you just gonna move
Absolutely.
somewhere else.
I agree, and
I mean, that's just absurd.
Well, especially with a legacy kid.
yes,
I mean, surely he has the roots ingrained in the University of Oklahoma.
well,
That he can accept the fact he was given a huge chance to grab the reins and run with it. He did okay at it, not good enough.
let me help you with how that would be easier. That would be a lot easier, and I totally agree. And this is where we should be. It'd be a lot easier if you had an offense and a quarterback coach who can put and produce talent, and you say, bide your time, you're going to have your moment, and it's going to be a lot of success. Now, the worry would be he's sitting there going and looking around and saying, this isn't getting any better. I'm not going to get any better playing or not playing with this team. I got to get out of here. That's when it's indicative of the entire difficulty of the situation where he and others might decide they've got to think of different things for
See, in this
themselves.
day and age, I think what you're saying is what you have to sell to their camp, their parents,
Absolutely.
their whatever. I think the
Their
players, the
trainers.
kids themselves,
They're agents.
I think the kids themselves don't probably see it like that
Right.
because they still just have so much belief in themselves.
Sure. Every kid does.
Right.
Always.
But you got to convince the
Yeah.
other people around them that
And we need something that's worth
This-
or absolutely actually possible to convince them, right?
Yeah.
And that may mean we have to make a change at offensive coordinator and everyone else. It keeps coming back to the fact you don't have a quarterback coach. I mean, if you were at a baseball program and you didn't have a pitching coach, and you think you're going to hang on to a great pitcher, how's that going to work? How in the world is that going to work? It's not going to happen. So, I think from an overall CEO point of view, Brent Venables needs to come in and decide what does he need to do strategically, not just for this year, but going forward. And he's got to think long and hard before he gives Seth Luttrell the chance to even keep his job. It's got to be game by game at this point, right? I mean, it's every game is an audition for him.
is a quarterback coach even a position that you have to account for numbers wise?
Well, it'd be one of your coach. I mean, you
Like, can you not have?
you can have guy play multiple roles.
No, but I mean, can you not just have someone who's strictly a quarterback coach but doesn't have an on the field role?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it could be one of your analysts.
Yeah, like that's what I mean.
Well,
Like, it
and
doesn't
they
have
can
to count.
coach now.
But I'm saying
right?
it doesn't have to
Yeah.
count against how many
And they can
coaches you
talk,
have.
meaning they can talk to guys during the game.
Yeah, but we don't talk to our quarterbacks during the game.
Right. So yeah, you could even do that. You could say, look, keep all of this staff that you've got. If this is your,
Yeah, even if it's not someone involved in the game plan or anything, it has anything to do
maybe
with
that's
that.
even better.
It's just, hey, here's who you should have looked at. Here's what was open. Here's read one,
Well,
two,
that'd be
three.
even better. That's a quarterback whisperer who has only one job, which is to go and talk to the quarterbacks. He's not distracted by anything else.
Right.
Absolutely. Why not?
Why don't we hire Kyler Murray's dad? Wasn't he the trainer for Hawkins?
He was.
He was.
I thought about that
Through
too.
high school or junior high and high school and all that.
I thought about that too.
Hired Kevin Murray to just come. Is that his name?
Yeah.
I think-
I think that's
yeah.
right.
Just bring him in, put him up in the box.
That's what you
Where
do.
he's
Get
got
on the
the-
phone.
They got
Get
the
on
phone that
iPad.
goes straight to the sideline, and he just calls and talks to him in between. Be like, hey, you missed, number 4 across the middle on this play or whatever.
Watch this. This is what's
Yeah.
giving you trouble. You're not realizing it.
Yeah, the X was wide open on this one. You should have taken a step to your left and just thrown it to him.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
No, I think
An extra set of eyes.
those are legitimate questions and legitimate ideas they need to be coming up with. I would love to be a fly on the wall and hear what's going on. What are they talking about? What are they thinking about? Is this occurring to them? Is this something that Venables is exploring in terms of every option has to be on deck? Every option has to be on deck. And they need to understand, just like they didn't in the Texas game, they are playing from behind at this point. There's nothing to lose, everything to gain. Seth Luttrell needs to treat himself as good as fired. And just, I'm going to coach football and I'm going to make this thing work. And I got to prove myself and do it. I can't get distracted by anything else. And I surely can't handcuff myself and prevent myself from going out and just taking the risk that's necessary to win games. Well, let's take a moment before we get to some of the fun stuff and thank our newest sponsor, and that's the good folks at Wonderful. So,
Yeah, wonderful. I've got
Wonderful Spirits. So, the maker of Only One Vodka and 2 Pony Straight Bourbon. We talked about the bourbon whiskey last time. And you got that, Lucas?
I got
Yeah.
the only one vodka right here.
It's the only one. There's only one Oklahoma, and now there's one vodka that reflects the same distinctive spirit. Introducing Only One, a premium vodka crafted by Wonderful Spirits, embodying the excellence of one of the country's most iconic brands. This exceptional vodka is as unique as the Oklahoma Sooners, with a smooth texture, crisp flavor, and top-notch quality achieved through 10-time distillation. That's not 9. They did 10-time distillation and triple filtration. It's a lot of filtration. Only One delivers a superior sipping experience. Its greatness captured in a bottle. There's only one. Tell me about it, Lucas. Is it good?
It's good. I mean, I would say this is more like our defense than our offense.
Yeah,
It's hard hitting and it's smooth. So
gets the job
it
done.
gets the job
Doesn't
done.
let you down.
Yep.
It
It
is.
didn't let you down like the offense does. That's for sure.
Well, I don't know. We could just
Hey,
go ahead.
this just popped up on Twitter, so I thought it was very interesting. So total QBR play in SEC play, or total QBR in SEC play this year. Who do you think the leading quarterback is in the SEC? QBR.
Um, give oh man.
Diego Pavia, Vanderbilt,
Wow.
leading QBR.
Okay,
Second,
that makes sense.
second is Jalen Milrow.
Okay, Milrow would be up there. I was thinking Milrow.
Michael Hawkins is fourth from the bottom. Who do you think the worst QBR is in the SEC?
Well, it ain't yours.
It's Jackson Arnold.
We played him.
Oh, of course, from Auburn. Yeah.
Nope. Nico.
Wow.
Nico, really?
Nico has the worst QBR in SEC play.
In SEC play.
Wow.
Huh.
Brock Vandegrift, former 5-star OU commit, plays for Kentucky. He's third worst. And Michael Hawkins Jr. is fourth.
Jackson probably doesn't qualify because he only played
Right.
less than a half of an SEC
Yeah.
game.
That's pretty interesting. What a world we live in. The Vanderbilt
Where does the
quarterback.
South Carolina quarterback rank on there?
It's early in the season.
About halfway.
Just barely above Hawkins.
Huh.
He's 12th. Hawkins is 13th.
The sad state of affairs.
It's a sad.
We
Well,
go from 2 Heisman Trophy winners, a
Mm.
Heisman runner-up, to Spencer Rattler, who was
Now,
okay here.
What's funny is Arch Manning's fourth on this list, and there is no Ewers.
not enough.
Not enough-
Years
not
only
enough.
played one SEC
Yeah.
game.
Well, there's a lot of season. There'll be some turnover in that list.
Well, so is
So is what?
has Arch played two?
Yeah, he played 2.
Who?
No, he just played Mississippi
He just
State.
played Mississippi State. Yeah, so why is
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess it takes a full game. I don't know.
Well, Ewers played a full game.
Yes, he did. I don't know. I can't explain it.
Don't believe everything you see on Twitter,
well, it's
except
true.
for tweets
X.
from 2 homers and a
It's-
realist.
Yes, those
You
are
can-
good
you can
tweets.
believe
You can
all of
believe those
those.
tweets. Those are good
We
tweets.
only,
This is
we
from-
only
this-
Those are good tweets.
This
True.
is from Bill
true
Conway,
stories.
so that's pretty
Yeah.
pretty solid.
That's a solid.
Maybe a week behind. Who knows? All right. Well, Jay, do you have some trivia for us? Let's get to some trivia of the week.
Do I ever? I was born for trivia.
Not in my experience of going to places and playing trivia nights.
That
with you.
That is untrue.
I don't know if you can say you're born for trivia.
Do not listen
Shout
to
out
Lucas
the answer.
for most of the time. All right. Here's some trivia. I went with this question because I feel like we're gonna need a whole lot of this the rest of the season. Maybe.
Only one vodka?
Yes. We definitely need a whole bunch of one vodka. Yeah, we're gonna need this pretty much in every game from here on out. And that is Sooner Magic. We've already used it once this year, so hopefully we haven't already used our allotted amount of Sooner Magic. But what year and who are we playing when the term Sooner Magic was kind of first coined?
Well, it wasn't 1998 when we pulled out a crazy victory against TCU on the road and we burned Josh Norman's red shirt for an onside kick. That would not be Sooner Magic. I don't even think that. I'm not sure that game qualifies, although it kind of felt like it. I know that it's going to involve Nebraska. I'm almost sure.
Okay.
And I remember in the 80s, in 87 and I think 86, we played back-to-back games in Lincoln, if I'm remembering that
How did
right.
that scheduling work?
And yeah, it was weird. We would do that every once in a while, and it was kind of frustrating. But we pulled out some amazing victories there, and there was some Sooner Magic for sure. That was the big, this is our house, and they can't stop us in '87, and we said we don't need this is our house and you don't have the keys, and we said we don't need the keys and kicked the door in. That was a pretty magical game. But I think it started against Nebraska before that. I'm going to say 1976, and I think it was we got a field goal out of like nowhere. We were able to get a field goal, if I remember right. I may be remembering that
I'm
wrong.
gonna say 1974 against Nebraska.
Final answer?
Final answer.
No detailed game plan or what happened?
Nope.
Okay. All right. The correct answer is 1976 versus Nebraska. So here's what transpired. With 3 minutes left in the game, we were down 17-7. Woody Shepard threw a 50-yard pass to Steve Rhodes, who made a miraculous catch. Rhodes then ran a curl pattern and passed to Elvis Peacock. Peacock scored the winning touchdown with 30 seconds remaining, tying the Sooners for the conference championship.
Nice.
And that's when it was coined Sooner Magic.
That's
so
awesome.
hopefully we have
Yeah.
5 more Sooner Magics.
Are you saying we're going to tie for the SEC title?
That's what
that
it
was a
sounds
down year for the Sooners. It was like a 3-way tie with Oklahoma State, Colorado, and OU, I think. I would take a 3-way tie, whatever it takes. I would take it. That we're going to need a lot of Sooner Magic.
Yes, we are.
A lot of Sooner Magic. You know what else is going to need some Sooner Magic? My picks. My picks are going to need some Sooner Magic to kick in. And that's because when I'm picking games, I may call them locks, but they are not the locks of the week.
The Realist Deal Locks of the Week.
And the Realist Deal Locks of the Week, of course, are brought to you by 5-Star Concrete. 5-Star Concrete, Josh and David, local business servicing the metro area from patios, sidewalks, driveways, shops, and more. They will pour a mean coat of concrete for you. It's
Slab.
They do a slab. They do a nice thick oak slab
a
of
nice
concrete.
slab in my backyard.
Yes, you do. It's a beautiful slab. Call them or text them at 405-306-3014 or look them up on Facebook, 5-Star Concrete. Well, thank you, Josh. We really appreciate it. Let's get a little update of where we stand. It's not pretty for some of us. I was back to my usual 0-3 last week. 7-14 on the season, 33%. Connor, it's funny, as I go through these, in the order that I record them, they happen to be in the order of worst to best. Connor was 0-2-1 with a push. He was 8-12-1 overall for 40% on the season. Lucas 1-2, 11-9-1, 55%, just hanging in there right above the vig. And then Jay, our hero Jay, he was 1-2 last week.
Rough.
He took a pedestrian week. 16-5 on the season, 76%. As a group, we're 42-40-2, 51%. Right there, almost just
Right where Vegas likes it.
so close.
Guys, I'm 16-5.
Maybe we can make up.
Look,
Let's brag about it, huh?
just pull it up just a little bit here.
Just looking for a little help.
Well,
Just a little.
our listeners, 13-8, 62%. Listener last week went 3-0.
Ah,
Yeah, apparently being on the pod is like a 1-in-4 chance of being, or maybe a half, a 50% chance of being good at picking. Listeners are just dynamite. Listeners are awesome. Just listen to the pod and make your picks. All right, so
Who's our listener last
who's our
week?
list?
That was Josh from 5-Star Concrete.
No,
No,
it was
no.
the week before.
Oh yeah,
It was
one.
Connor's Alex, wasn't it?
Was it Alex last week?
Yeah.
I think so.
Oh, shout out to Alex.
Way to go, Alex. Yeah, teach us your ways.
Whom I met at the OU Texas game.
Oh yeah, you guys got to meet.
Yeah, got to meet. It was
Yeah,
nice.
Thanks for
He
inviting
was
me.
very friendly.
I'm over here, wondering where my friends are.
He loves our podcast.
Well, good for him. He
Awesome to
should.
hear.
Well, we love his listenership. Who's our listener this week?
Matthew.
Matthew, good friend Matthew's been on the pod before. Matthew, who you got?
Let's see. Matt took BYU minus 9.5 at home
Against the Aggies.
Friday night versus the Cowpokes.
I like that pick. That's Friday night?
Friday night.
Oh.
Friday night in Provo.
For Friday, well, that's wild times,
Yeah, it is
man.
wild
Can you
times.
imagine the secret special underwear they're going to be
A
wearing
lot of
for that?
soaking going on
Yeah.
later. Illinois +3 at home versus Michigan.
I like that pick. Sorry.
Sorry, Matt. This is not going good for you so far, Matt. He's also going to take Arkansas
That's bad.
coming off the bye week, +3 at home versus LSU. It's a very, if some listeners don't know, it's a fairly large SEC rivalry, actually. So
Yeah, it's kind of evolved, and they had the like 19 overtimes that one time, and yeah. all that
my
going on.
comment on that would only be, I don't know if their quarterback is healthy.
Right.
So he's a game changer. He's a pretty dynamic young football player. He's
Mhm.
a good looking cat, but I don't know if he's, I don't even know if he's going to play, much less be 100%.
Okay. Well, I'll lead into mine, and then I've got Connors. He's not with us. He's deep in the heart of Mexico. And
Again?
exactly. It's actual Mexico,
Are
although
we
he goes
sure,
back and forth between Texas
are
and
we sure
Mexico.
his job is what he says his job is?
He said that he's a mule. I don't know if mule was used.
I heard he said something about, have you ever seen Narcos? And he's like, it's something like that. And I was like, oh, okay.
He said he's
so.
trying to get it in good before they start cracking down on that border. But first, my picks. I've got Purdue getting 27.5 against Oregon. Purdue had a coaching change. They won last week, I believe. They're 1-5, and they're about to cover big time against Oregon.
A little Oregon letdown.
A little Oregon letdown after a really dramatic 12-man play
Well,
in
they're
football.
playing Friday night, and they played late into the night.
They did.
On Saturday.
So there's an
There's
issue
still a bit of
there.
short rest. Plus, they got to fly to Indiana.
Plus,
That's
the
never a place
NCAA's
for
changing all the rules, so Dan Lanning can't go in and just manipulate
Yeah,
things.
throw 12 guys in the
And
field
there
to save
is
some time.
there is some kind of crazy stat going on with those teams traveling that far to play. The only team that it hasn't helped so far is UCLA.
There's no helping
like
UCLA.
Like the only team. But
Well, I also like Tennessee getting 2.5 against Bama. I don't know. I feel like Tennessee.
the QBR didn't change your decision.
It kind of weighed on it a little bit, but I feel like they are going to focus on this game. Have been focusing on this game, so I think they've got a chance there getting the points at home. Right? That's at Tennessee.
That's at Tennessee.
Yeah. So I like the home dog. Another
They're
home
down for
dog.
what?
Let's go 3 for 3 on home dogs. Georgia Tech getting 11.5 against Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a bit overrated. Georgia Tech may be a bit underrated. Georgia Tech beat the Florida State Seminoles, if you
That's
guys
true.
remember, and they traveled across the ocean to do that. So I'm feeling pretty good about those picks. Connor has Kansas State giving 2.5 to West Virginia. He's got they would call it the real USC, Southern Cal, giving 7 to Maryland. And then he's got the Oklahoma Sooners against the other USC, giving 1.5. Boomer, Sooner, I like it. I like it. I like the pick.
Of course you do. I also have BYU. My line is 9 against Oklahoma State. I've got Mizzou.
Well, then Matt gets 9.
I mean, he may have put his bet in before I did. I don't know.
Yeah, he said 9.5.
I got Mizzou -4.5 against Auburn.
We'll give him 9. Mizzou, how much?
-4.5.
Like against who?
Auburn.
Oh yeah. That's a
Unless I looked at it correctly.
No, that's right.
That is correct.
That's right.
And Mizzou's at home.
Yeah.
Auburn, as we know, is very turnover prone.
You better hope for those turnovers.
And then I have Iowa State -13.5 against UCF. And that game is in Ames.
Yeah, and UCF has been just a real disappointment.
Complete
They're like
letdown
3-3.
Yeah.
I don't know where
They were one of
they're-
the top 3 picks to win the Big 12, and they're
sputtering.
they're at the bottom of it.
From a guy who watches a sputtering team, I know what I see. I see it. When I see it, they're sputtering. Our hero.
All right. So the reason Matt gets BYU -9 is because I'm also taking BYU. -9 in Provo. You don't just walk in there to the Smiths
I mean, we did last year.
and come away with a victory.
No. They
So
don't have
BYU -9.
They don't have to win.
Versus the
They just
Pokes.
have to not cover the spread.
Colorado
Ooh.
+3
Is
against Arizona.
Travis playing?
Yes.
Okay.
And oh man, I gotta pick between these two right here. Golly. I'm gonna take LSU -1.5. Or 2.5. It's 2.5. Just because I think Arkansas's quarterback's not going to play. So I'm
Wow.
going against you, Matt.
Sorry, Matt. Sorry, buddy. But it's 2.5, and he locked in at 3. That's fine. We'll give Matt that. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that one. Well, we'll see. Before we get to a prop bet, I got a question then, because you guys laugh and laugh at Connor's pick. Line opened up at 2.5. It's down to 1.5. What do you think the OU South Carolina line should be? Handicap it
I would say South Carolina -1.5.
on the road. Give them the edge slightly.
They're a better team than we are.
Oh, come on. How do you know this? All the money's saying they're not.
I mean, all the money, I mean, it's gone the opposite direction. The
It's
line's
not-
gone down.
It's not there yet.
So the money has
It'll be
gone-
They're not there yet.
It'll be OU +1 at kick.
Do you think that's
I
a
can
good
see that.
line? You like that line? What would you say? What would you bet OU? What would it need to be for you to bet OU?
-5.5.
You mean plus
Plus
5.5?
5.5.
Plus 5.5?
Yeah.
So you'd take SC
You
Plus
watch
2.5?
this team, right?
plus 2.5?
You don't just run a podcast. You, like watch
give
the
me
game.
you give me 2.5? I take OU and you give me 2.5?
I'll give you 3.5.
You give me 3.5?
I'll give you 3.5.
All right, $10. Let's do it.
$10.
$10.
I'll give you
OU
3.5.
plus 3. We're gonna have a side bet.
Unfortunately.
I'm
We're gonna
calling
have a side
Governor
bet.
Stitt right now and putting it into
OU
this.
3.5. South Carolina. Steve versus Jay.
I will
$10.
put my
$10
Cash App on
$10.
the YouTube live. For anyone that wants that.
You're gonna have to save up for $10. All right. What about you, Lucas? What would be your 50-50?
2.5.
2.5. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you like
Yeah.
where I am. All right.
South Carolina -2.5.
Well, I probably doomed us. It would not surprise me entirely if we don't come out and look functional. But at the same time,
The surprises.
Yeah,
Get out
it
of
would be
me.
shocking
What are you talking about?
here's why.
if we look functional.
Here's why. We've got a lot of talent, and I think
that we've
what
had
we can
all
do,
season.
I know, but what we can do is just get simple and things can start to work.
I mean, they had 2 weeks to do that.
I'm with you.
I-
They haven't done it.
I will say, I will preface my line. My line is with a Michael Hart.
Well, you don't get a conditional.
I don't get a condition, but
Yeah.
I'm saying my line that I just gave you on the $10 bet is with Michael Hart.
So that'll be interesting to see if come game, it may not be enough time, they may not announce it, but if they were to announce late, Jackson Arnold's going to be the starter if it moves the line, reverses it any from whatever it ends up being. That'd be pretty interesting. Well, let's move to prop bet of the week. What do you got in terms of a prop bet?
All right, here we go. Prop bet.
And by the
Uh,
way, I didn't pull it up to talk about it. I have not won a prop bet the entire year.
Ouch.
And you know why? Because every time I take the one where it would be better, most likely for OU to go that way, and we aren't.
I knew I took the under on the sacks last week, and I think all three of y'all took over
Yes.
3.5 sacks.
That's right.
Yeah.
I took the under, and what do we have?
Don't know, but it started
One.
off good.
One
One.
We got one in the first drive.
We got one.
and
One
an
sack.
interception.
It's brutal.
We
All
won
right.
the first drive.
We won the first quarter.
We won the first quarter. Let's get t-shirts.
That's the prop bet. Do we win the first quarter? Okay, so
That would be a good prop bet, actually.
that's true.
Which were horrible. in the second quarter.
We definitely don't make second half
Which
adjustments.
does lead to my prop bet here. Over under 6.5 points scored by OU in the second quarter alone.
I'm gonna go under.
So
Oh
I think my numbers are correct. In 2 SEC games, I think we're out. Have we been outscored
40 to nothing.
Yeah, 40 to nothing in the second quarter. So we don't have to see if South Carolina's scoring here.
In
Just
3
does
SEC games.
OU
In
basically-
3 chances.
does OU basically score a touchdown in the second quarter or 3 field goals?
No, 2 field goals and a safety.
Oh, that's true.
Because you said any points, even
That's
the
true.
defense can score.
Yes,
Even the defense could score.
correct. Connor answered with over, but not confident.
I will say, ugh, Over. I'm going over.
Yeah, it just screwed us. God, I had won a pot bet all season. You couldn't just go under for the sake of the team.
There's a part of me that wants to go 0-12 on this thing, or 0-15, however many.
You're well on your way.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't think we're gonna get to play 15 games this year, Steve.
They don't have to be OU props. They could be any props.
That is true.
Could be an NFL prop.
Yep.
What do you got?
Oh, man.
I know what you got.
I'm going under.
Come on. Under.
Brutal.
Brutal. Sad. I know your score, so I probably should have known that.
Yeah.
Well, anything else to cover before we get to score predictions? I mean, it's obviously, we're laughing about it, but it's sad. It sucks when you're in this position. We're 4-2. Here's what really is weird. We're 4-2 in a playoff regime. Literally, all of our goals are still in front of us. Obviously, you want one goal is to beat Texas on all that. That's not in front of you. But all the practical big time goals are technically in front of you. You're
Yeah,
not
it really
mathematically eliminated
It's-
from anything,
It is very odd.
which is a kind of tough place for them to be. If I'm that coach communicating it to them, you got this balancing act between, guys, nobody believes in you. Your own fans are giving up on you because they don't know what to believe, although I don't know how much you want to communicate that. At the same time, you don't want pressure on them. You want them to play loose. They're like, there's nothing to lose, and let's just get better and see what we can achieve. But technically, they could be a team that has a really good season with a good bowl. They could technically get into the SEC title. They could technically get into the playoffs. All of those things can happen. They obviously have to get a whole lot better. It would be shocking.
It'd be the
if they
greatest
get that
turnaround
good.
in college football history at this point.
Would it be? I mean, it would be really big. It would be about like the 2006 Sooners, right? When they won the conference and got to, wasn't that the year
Well,
that
Paul
they go in
Thompson?
Paul
with Paul
Thompson,
Thompson?
Well, I don't
and
wait start off
The most
that
clutch
bad.
third down quarterback we've ever had.
we started off really bad. We started off pretty bad, and we pulled it together. We lost what 2 games, and then I mean, he was coach of the year. I think Stoops was coach of the year that year for a reason.
Listen, I'll give you that. If we turn this around and we win the rest of our games, you are 100%. It is the biggest turnaround.
Oh, that would be
in-
true.
in
That would be true.
decades.
What is a realistic season on
One
the
more win.
upside?
Oh, on the upside. On the upside,
One more win is not realistic.
gosh, you can beat South Carolina. You can beat Missouri and Maine. We're just not counting Maine. You can get to 7 wins,
I think 8-4 is pretty doable.
but you've got to beat Bama, Ole Miss, or LSU to
Right.
do that.
Right. What do you think?
I mean, at this point, I just want to win 6 so we get a bowl game, so we get all the practices.
Right.
I think
And this
your
week's crucial.
your ceiling is probably 8-4 at this point.
Yeah.
Just based on the teams we have left and what we've seen so far, it would be very surprising to get 8-4.
Missouri's not incredible, and maybe you get Burks back. You get Burks and Farouk back. You can easily win a Missouri game. Maybe even the, I don't know, what's the easier game? You think the LSU or the Ole Miss?
I think that it's to be determined because we don't know about a lot about those 2 teams. LSU, I haven't been very impressed with them coming in at this point, and they just narrowly beat Ole Miss. So I don't know. Hard to say. So I think 8-4 is still very much an objective I think they should be striving for. I think there's more upside to it than that. There's obviously more downside, no doubt about it. If they don't play better and can't get better than what we've seen so far, it's going to be a struggle to beat anybody but Maine. A true struggle where you're saying, well, you're close in 3 games, and so you're bound to win 1 of 3. And that's bad. Obviously, a 6-6 season would be really bad. If they get to 9-3, from where they stand today, we might be, I don't know, from what you said early in the season, I don't know if you could be disappointed in 9-3, actually.
From today?
No, I said I would be happy.
You'd be happy, yeah.
But
you
not
would be
elated.
happy.
Not elated.
No,
We go back to that
10-2 was elated.
10
I
and 2 is
think.
elated.
10-2
9
now
and 3
elated.
made me happy.
Yeah,
8 and 4 is where I predicted.
yeah. So if 8-4 hits your prediction,
I mean, the
what
other
does
thing,
that mean then?
the other
Because
thing, and you don't want to wish for this, but you knock a quarterback out of one of those games.
Sure.
You know, Missouri has to go to the backup, or Ole Miss has to go to the backup. I don't know who's behind Dart at Ole Miss. I don't know who's behind Milroe at Alabama. If you not wishing for it, but if you get lucky and knock a quarterback out,
Or maybe they get hurt before you play 'em.
maybe the defense is so good that you don't give up more than a touchdown
and you win the game.
and you win the game 9-7.
So all of that aside, going into the season, you predicted 8-4,
Yes.
not knowing or thinking that the offense was going to look like it did, right?
I thought we would struggle on offense, but I didn't think it'd be anything like
Thought we'd
this.
struggle.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole top
With
of the
Arnold and all
offensive
that?
line was so bad.
Well, the
The
offensive
whole
line
offseason, we
was
talked
a
about the offensive
concern,
line not being good.
right? That was a
We
concern.
were excited to have the receivers.
That was a
Like
concern.
we've lost all
Right.
of them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So going into the season, 8-4 is your prediction before most of any of the things that have transpired.
Right.
So if we end up being 8-4, that's more like you're 9-3
At this point, with
At
all
this
the
point,
injuries, yeah.
with the injuries, with everything,
Yeah.
and we
The
still
de-
can criticize.
The defense has performed like I thought it would. Honestly,
The defense
mean,
has been better than I thought.
we
it
gave
would
up
be.
too many. We gave up a couple big plays at Tennessee that I wouldn't have thought.
Right.
And then Texas is always a 50-50 game. I had us losing that on my 8-4. I
Right.
had us with a loss to Texas.
Not like that though.
Not like that, just because the offense was so bad. I mean,
Yeah.
I had
Competitive.
it 27-20 was my score last week, is what I predicted.
Right.
And outside of that very last touchdown where we went for it on our own, 30-yard line or whatever it was in the fourth quarter, and they punched that last one in.
Right.
We were on pace for 27
Well, that was your
to 3.
prediction the week of, not
Right, the week
not
of
the start of the season. So what I'm saying is, I mean, it's a really weird season. The defense to me is better. I thought they'd be really good, but they're better than I thought it'd be. Obviously, I think the offense was. I thought the offense was going to be a lot better than they have been. So that's been a very big disappointment.
I mean, the defense has been right where I thought we would be, honest.
I didn't think we'd quite be this good. I maybe
I thought with Danny and Billy coming back, that was the anchors you needed to have an elite defense. And I don't think we're elite, but we're top
they're
tier.
pushing elite. Yeah.
I actually thought we would be a hair better, but it's not their fault that we're not. Our offense is just not allowing them
Right,
to
actually,
be better than they are.
If you had an offense that they deserve, like just a bare minimum offense, you would probably say they are truly, obviously elite.
Yes.
We're just asking too much of
Yeah,
them.
correct.
So it's a weird season. It's a weird season for all those reasons, right? It's hard to evaluate because we could hit our numbers and yet we're really disappointed and worried because if I said we're 8-4 and the offense got better, but it didn't get great and we're not seeing real good progression, that's almost the worst formula because then you're worried about retaining coaches that you may want to shed to get it to a better future.
Yeah,
I
because
don't
like
know.
on opponent adjusted metrics or whatever, I think we're the number 9 defense in the country. Which,
Right.
if you could have,
Yeah, and we're
if you could have told us that,
but we're like
before the
7th in the
season.
SEC, and we're number 9.
yeah, but if you could have told us that before the season started, that you were going to have literally a top 10 defense.
I mean,
Yeah.
I thought us had us in the top 20.
What we
in
have
defense.
one loss, right? We think, oh, okay, we
But
lost a game.
I thought offense would be in the 40s or
Yeah,
50s, not the 120s.
Yes.
I really thought the offense, well, before the receiver injuries, I thought the offense was going to be top, call it 30, pushing top 25
really the
and
only-
getting better.
The only one we quote lost before the season started
It was Gibson.
was Gibson.
Gibson. We're trying.
We didn't know that Anderson was lost.
Well, the week
basically.
of when he got hurt, the week before the first game.
No, he didn't hardly practice. We just thought he was
being held out.
going to play,
Right.
but he was just being held out.
Well, we knew
And then
Andrew
Farouk
Anthony
is a
Anthony, we thought would
come back
was
by-
on pace to come back,
Right.
by Tennessee is what we kind of
and
thought.
Farouk broke his foot, and then Burks got hurt.
brings
in
up a
Tennessee.
question. How much did the coaches actually know about this? And yet they weren't able to make the right adjustments. That's more of an indictment of their poor coaching, right?
I'd like to know where all the Lincoln Riley playbooks are. I mean, he didn't take them with him.
No
That
kidding.
stuff's all digital.
We can figure all that out.
Well, you can just go watch
I know.
2 games of
I
this
know
year.
our offensive
I know.
line isn't good enough to carry out a lot of those plays, but there's got to be
But
some.
actually, a lot of them weren't that complex. I get back to the
I don't know. His
simplicity,
scheming was so good on getting receivers open.
but it wasn't complex blocking. It was just blocking. It's
Yeah.
just block guys, you know? I don't know. Well, let's get to some
Well, he used
score
an H-back in his
predictions.
offense, which is something
What's
we.
that?
Yeah.
It's like a quarterback coach. You don't do that anymore. Well, let's get to some score predictions. I got Connor's and I got mine, and they're both the same because we know what we're talking about.
Oh,
24
like
and
last week.
yeah, right. We were almost dead on Texas score. 24 for the Sooners, 17 for South Carolina.
I've got the same South Carolina score, 17. I have Oklahoma. Oh, only 13. I've got a loss
13
by
to
4.
17. You almost seem happy about that. It's kind of weird.
Nope.
I have South Carolina 20. OU 16.
Also a 4-point loss for Jay.
Mm.
Well, so if that transpires, I think all of us would be in the same boat of nothing's changed, right? If we win 24-17, we've scored a lot more points than we otherwise have been scoring, have been threatening with. Will we be how will we feel about a 24-17 win?
I'll be thrilled with the
Great.
victory.
Great. Yeah.
If the offense only has 240
Will
yards,
it change your
and we
1%
win, I'm
chance
happy.
of Seth Luttrell's return?
It depends
How they
where
look,
the points are, I guess.
right? Yeah, assuming the points are off then.
If we have 3 turnovers and a fumble recovery and we have short field,
No, it's
then we
8
actually
field
win.
goals.
But I don't know. I think we're really stretching for 24 points. I'm sorry. Unfortunately,
That's so
it's
awful.
crazy. It's
That's so awful. No one outside of Iowa coming into this year should be in that position.
Right.
That's just ridiculous. Well, it's awful. It's terrible. We thank you to Dr. Kiehn for his sponsorship, all the other sponsors. We really appreciate it. We'll be back with the post game to talk about whatever it is that the Sooners put out on the field, what they can do. We'll have a lot to cover. Connor will be back from Mexico, hopefully.
If they let him across the border.
If they,
Let us pick
yeah,
what we should.
I don't know, we never know. But until then, Boomer.